Awesome. Welcome everybody to another Bite-Sized Branding Live. Hopefully you are nice and ready for the long weekend. As always, we are so excited to have everybody joining us on the show. And as always, I have Grant with me. Grant, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Grant Tom. I'm known in the marketing place as the head fire starter. And what that means is that I take ideas, I get them implemented, and I help businesses to grow. And today we have a fantastic guest by the name of Christopher, who's a specialist in copywriting. And welcome to the show, Christopher.
Thank you very much, Grant. Thanks, Bernard. Pleasure to be here.
Very welcome, mate. Very, very welcome.
So welcome to the challenge, Christopher. Welcome to the challenge. So we chase the clock. But for you, as for special guests, we normally chase 5 minutes, but today we're chasing 7, so we give you 2 extra minutes to sort of with us. So it's not like you've got a lot of time. You've got to talk fast, you've got to talk precise, and you've got to talk on point. If not, we'll butt in and take over. But it's all about the betterment of solving a problem for the viewers, for people in the marketplace, but at the same time, it's for us to challenge each other as well.
So just so everybody knows, the reason we invited Chris onto the show today is Chris is a maven of copy magic. You know, if you need your copy done, do you like that? I came up with that.
I appreciate it. As a word guy, I appreciate that.
Chris is far and at most one of the best copywriters we have ever had the fortune of working with. And for that reason, we wanted to bring him on the show to share a lot of insights around copywriting, the importance of copywriting, and the value that brings. Before we kick into the show and everything goes crazy while we're chasing the clock, Chris, tell us a little bit about Melotti Media and the importance of copy and why you kind of got into that space.
Yeah, well, thank you. So as Bernard said, my name is Christopher Melotti from Melotti Media Copywriting and Message Marketing Bureau. And me and my team work together using words to make brands relevant to our customers. And so copywriting is, look, it's evolving very, very fast. And it's no longer just hey, I can write well, I'll give it a go. It really comes from a real strong marketing base. And from that, you really need to understand your customer and be able to communicate with them in a clear and distinct and consistent way. So that's what I specialize in, is really getting to know the problem and communicating it clearly.
Look, that's one thing that we experience quite often when we're working with a client is that they're so inside their business, they forget that they're talking to their customers. They forget that they're trying to, they're not talking the tech, they're not talking the specs, they're not talking the details, they're talking to a person. And often they write too tech, you know, too knowledgeable.
And it's so my job, sorry to just hijack that, Bernard, my job is to help brands be able to pull themselves out of their blinkered view and help them understand what their customers are actually looking for. And often that takes a lot of courage from the client, because they are very set in their ways. They like the way that they communicate. They like to say everything and anything, and really pulling them back. Like, a lot of people think, oh, copy is writing long, but not always. A lot of it is the skill of bringing it right back and understand. And so that's like you said, that's a really important part of what I do for clients.
So one of the things I've experienced is that a lot of clients want these beautiful pictures. And I say that's fantastic. But it is what you say on that picture that is the most important part of the communication. Otherwise, it's irrelevant for doing that. And sometimes it's less is more impactful. And that's the hardest thing that most clients need to learn.
Agreed. And I love, like, I'm a word guy, but I love the use of photos and videos to I'm a big believer in it. Like, I do a lot of video and a lot of things, and I'm writing the scripts behind these videos and everything like that. So it's all interlinked. But like you just said, Grant, it's that it's also the fact that, you know, when you have a nice big photo at your homepage and it has this killer line, like, you know, we bring dreams to life. Think something like that. Like, you know, we tell stories, something like that. The synergy between those two elements is a beautiful experience for people.
And for me personally, it's the typography in a small headline, how that typography comes together. Man, that just makes me like shoot up.
People, like, when people go to a website or absorb content, they like And it's not just like, okay, like, you know, that when they land on a homepage, getting a glimpse is the best to capture people, because they get this a lot of information quite fast, and then they can choose to read on. And that's what it's like, balance. That's what a lot of people think, oh, copywriting is just nice writing. It's also like the technique of display, you know, of how it comes together, how it looks, how it's centered, how it's all of that kind of thing, formatting. It's all important as well.
Okay. Enough, guys. Enough.
In the starting blocks, we need to get started. You can see we're warmed up, we're ready to go. So
I'm keeping it short, I promise.
Okay, so the first subject matter, as you saw, I updated the clock to 7 minutes. The first subject matter is we're going to talk about the importance of targeted language in your advertising. So not just writing, you know, a random message, or how effective is one message versus another message. You know, that'll be really cool to get your insight on that too, Chris. Ready to go, guys?
Yeah, let's get going.
Check the clock.
Or am I going to talk?
We'll propose.
I'm good with that. Go
Okay,
for it.
here we go. It's a loose format.
There it is. We're in our 7 minutes. So essentially the question is, how important is targeting your copy within your ads? And can copy be detrimental to an ad as much as it can help one?
Absolutely. So knowing your customer is absolutely essential, Bernard. Like I wouldn't even start writing ad copy until you know your customer, because that has a huge impact. And that's why we do A/B testing, because if you don't understand your customer and you don't know their pain points, then you're already lost. The only way people click is, like that keyword I keep saying, relevant. They only click when it's relevant.
But you've got to understand the format in which you're communicating on. Because once you understand the format and the target, then you can know how to channel your text and your copy around that format, because then you know how they like to read.
That's right. And that's why the prep work is just as important as the execution. And this is where a lot of clients go wrong, is that they go, oh, just write me something and have fun. And while that's great, you need to do the prep work. You need to, as I said, you need to know your demographic, all the trigger points, all their challenges, what's going to get them to inspire their action, what emotional connection can you trigger, what word count do you need. All that prep work needs to be done. And then that's when the execution happens. It's like that iceberg kind of idea, is that the copy is at the top. All that prep work is what gets success.
So one of the things that I found the most is that a lot of salespeople want to just like vomit all over their customer with all the information that they've got. At the end of the day, you as a writer, on behalf of the client, you want to take the reader on a journey with the view to tell them, but educate them, enhance them, and make sure that they are remembered at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I define that as providing value. Everything you need to do is provide value, and value is equal to entertainment plus information or education. So
the selling tools in.
Sorry, I missed that. Sorry, cut out.
You've got to have some selling tools in there too. You've got to remember the selling tools.
Yes. And so what it is basically, so long as you're providing value, people will follow, people will listen, people will read. So it's not, when I say entertainment, I don't mean like, you know, fun and games, you know, but it's got to be something that they find intriguing and engaging, as well as entertaining, because you don't want them reading your copy and going, I want that 5 minutes back. I didn't get anything from it. Everything needs to be a forward momentum for people to care.
Yeah, I can't believe Grant missed the opportunity to say his favorite buzzword, which is edutainment.
Oh, it was coming. It was coming. You stole my thunder. Edutainment. Come on. I was keeping that as my final.
Oh, great one, Bernard.
Oh, that's it. I'm out of the show. Cut me out.
Look, I think one of the things that's important is that if you don't grab the reader in the first couple of lines, they're not going to read on. And you've missed the whole opportunity. And I think
sorry. I'm a firm believer in top of that is every sentence should lead to the next sentence.
Correct.
It's so important. Like, and it's not as easy as you think. It's got to, like you said, a story. But people throw that word story as a buzzword everywhere. But what it means is that A leads to B, which leads to C, which leads to D, and there's an intrigue to keep reading. If you are writing your copy and you're getting bored, your customers are getting bored, and that's
a journey. You've got to take them on that journey. You know,
correct.
You've got to take them on, and I agree with you. Wordsmithing is beautiful, and every line's got to lead onto each other. And very few people have that talent.
And that's that's why people hire professional copywriters, because one, we do it every day. So this is like when you practice something, you get good at it. But there's 4 reasons why people hire a professional copywriter. It's 1, they're not sure what to write. 2, they hate it and they want someone else to do it. 3 is that they're getting no results from their current copy. Or 4, they have no time, or a collection of all 4 of those. So those 4 reasons are the reason why people come to me. It's because of those. And I can, like, as a professional copywriter, I help with all of them. You know, whether it's no time, you hate it, it doesn't matter. That's what a professional copywriter does, and that's how the value comes across.
So let me ask you a question. What happens when you've got a product that you've got no interest in whatsoever personally? How do you get excitement into that communication for the reader?
Great question. Look, for me, I have the ability to put myself in their customer's shoes. And that's something of a skill that I've developed from my marketing background, is that that's a really good question, Grant, because that is a big problem with a lot of people suffer from, is that they go, I have no passion for hardware, I can't write about it. And so like, that was just an example. So what I do is I look at my customer and I say, where would they be? Who would they be? Like I would say, okay, my dad would be this customer. What would my dad be thinking? And I have that ability to put myself in that perspective, and that allows me to then communicate right well to my dad. And so it's a really important part. And again, when we talked about it, clients need to be able to do that, to adapt and say, what does my client want? What do they want to read? What do they want to know? Not what the business wants to always say.
Well, we're down to 1 minute and 40 seconds. So guys, you've got to bring it home. Tell me about this copy as to what will make it the biggest, the punchiest for the client to read, to get more sales, to get more clients to buy them.
Yeah, look, I would suggest, if you're struggling to come up with concepts and you don't I would suggest hiring a professional copywriter. But the way I would do this is I come up with a lot of concepts, and then I usually refine them and refine them and refine them. Then I'll go away, have a walk, come back and reread them again. And as you start to test and give yourself fresh perspective, that's when you can refine your message right down, and you develop an instinct. You develop an instinct and you go, this is going to grab attention. And this is through everything. Last night I did a whole website for a property that's coming up in Queensland. And I was thinking, it was targeted at first home owners who, why do they care? They want local attraction. So you build out that journey and you think about what they want. And if you can get it right and appeal to their emotions, that's what's going to work.
30 seconds. Let's go.
Man, I think what I took away from all this is that you have to have a vision of who it's going to be targeted at and why you're targeting them. And the other thing is how you're positioning the brand through the copy. So are you a cheap and cheerful brand? Are you a sophisticated brand? How are you positioning that brand? And how does that transpire through the copy to be talking to the right type of customer? So I think with your ad copy, short, but you have to be targeted with that messaging.
And the pre-work.
We got there.
So, final words on that subject, Burnout.
Look, I think I kind of surmised it just then before the end of the clock. But I think it's essential that people capture those 3 elements. Understand where is that customer coming from and where are they going to be going after that step. And you often see that people kind of repurpose the same copy from their ad on their landing page. I feel like the next conversation should be what they see when they get to the landing page or to the home page. It's the next step. They already know the message. You don't have to repeat it. They just clicked on it to get there, right? And then having that targeting correct, understanding your value proposition, how you want to position the brand. I think those are essential.
Done. Fantastic. Christopher, last words on the subject.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Sorry. Oh, I thought you said nice words on the subject. Oh, last words on the subject. Look, exactly what Bernard said. So I would say that it's remember we talked about that prep work. That's where it comes from. Is looking at it and saying, like you said, who are we targeting? What are we doing? It's you're going to set yourself up for failure if you just run into it. If you just go, that's good enough, and you put something down and then launch it, it's not going to get the results you want. It starts with, who is the customer? What do they want? What's in it for them? What triggers them? Where are their emotions? what are the challenges, how do you solve them, how do you counter their objectives. All this prep work needs to be done early, because then from that you can distill messages and ad copy that works and takes people on a journey that they find relevant.
My final words on the subject is as follows, that I think that just by this 7 minutes of interjection, we can find that a professional who knows his subject can really bring so much more value to a business than an amateur attempting to do something with the view to save money. There's no saving money here. It's about buy the right tools to do the job. And I think you can see quite clearly that to get a professional copywriter for your campaign, for your messaging, is utmost, because at the end of the day, your customers haven't got time to read garbage. They want to read effective communication. That's my last point.
No, okay. The bar is very high. The expectations today, like think about customers. We have no tolerance as customers anymore, don't you know? Like if you see anything bad, boom, we're gone. It's not like the 1940s where it said buy cornflakes and we went, all right. Like it just doesn't happen anymore. You need to convince them and you need to be compelling. Otherwise, they're out. No one cares unless you are compelling and relevant.
Absolutely. All right, go. Next subject. What are we talking about?
Yeah, well, I thought Grant really came out gloves on just then, didn't he? He was like, "Papa."
Yeah, you got to bop and weave.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. So the next subject that we're going to talk about, we've kind of tokened it: long copy versus short copy. But really, it's all about the power of copy. And because, as we've said, people are very time poor and they want to be hit with the good message straight away, how detrimental can poor copy or waffly copy be to a campaign or to a website when a customer lands there, or even a promotional piece, So, affectionately termed long copy versus short copy, but what is the power of good copy?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let me
are you going to trigger me again, or am I just going to blurt?
It's all right. Grant's going to lead you in on this one.
All right, lead me in.
Kick it off.
Oh, we started. Right, great.
Yes, sir.
Back in the day, there was Dale Carnegie who wrote a long copy advert for his organization. And the secret to this is that it's been regarded as the best kept advert ever written because it ran for 40 years unchanged, and it was a long copy advert. And it enhanced, it educated, it had call to action, and it had sign up at the end of the day. And it was regarded as the best ad ever written. But it was a long copy ad. We now live in an age where people live by 5.4 seconds. And if you haven't captured their attention, they're going to swipe. So the challenge I've always had, and the challenge I had was long copy versus short copy. I'm a short copy fan. I haven't got time to do lots of stuff. What do you guys think?
Yeah, look, I know that the default reaction for everybody is to say short copy, but actually the research shows that it can be varied. So I would tell everyone in the audience not to bias against one or the other. The reason why is because it each has their place. I know because when you look up people's stats and research, a lot of the best websites are 2,000 to 5,000 words. But remember we talked about formatting? That's the difference. See, on my website, for example, I have what HubSpot calls a pillar page. And that's a frequently asked question page. And it goes on and it's got something like 12,000 words on it. But it's not 12,000 like a textbook. It's big titles, small chunks, a photo, a video, another title, some bullet points. And so that's how it works. And so it depends on where you use it, but don't just think short copy is the only thing. Short copy is good for like if you want to grab attention quite quickly, but long copy has its place.
Fantastic. Well, I think that once again, like we spoke in the previous segments, it's all about the format in which you're being presented on.
Yes.
You've got to look at that, number one. Number two, I think that in some cases, short copy just says exactly what you need to have with all the other waffle that goes on. Because whenever it's bored, they actually start to think down on your brand. They don't always think up on your brand. So you said it's something in the previous discussion that every line is going to lead into each other in order to create that effectiveness. And that's the beauty of a copywriter in the sense that he brings that art of wordsmithing with the view to ensure that every line works for it. But for me, I love short copies because I love punchy headlines, chunky text, and tell me what to do quickly and let me get a move on. That's what I love the best.
Yeah, and as I said, like it's a good point, but I 100% agree with you. Grant, is that's the default for general searching. When you go onto a website, or let's say you're looking up, say, a daycare center, you look up multiple tabs and you scan the website and you go, which one's right for me? That's when short copy comes into its power. But when people are looking for more information and they're willing to stay, or it's like a help or a blog or something like that, never be afraid to make that longer, so long as that is digestible in sort of bite-sized chunks. And that's why I write my blog, because if you write a textbook, people do bail. But if you have, here's the 20 things to know, and you have chunk, then that is long copy as short copy form, if that makes sense. Like
I find for myself as well, I like it when somebody does a pull out or an aside, like they take something that's a real highlight and just kind of separate it into a section to bring it out, a call out. Yeah. I mean, especially, like, I love it when they pull out data and stuff like that, like just really highlight that data. So I get the hits and highlights. If I want, I can just scan through and I just pick out the big call out.
And that's the way it works. See, a copywriter for you should be doing that. Like what it should be is, if your copy has like a long bit of text, having snippets, what it does is it allows people to, like yourself, to scan through and go, that's relevant to me. What they do is then when they're engaged, then they read it.
Read the rest of it. Yeah.
So you can't, as a writer and as a client and as a business, don't think that that's defeated. So long as they've found the information that they need in your copy, that's a win. But people often think, oh, well, they haven't read from 1 to 10, so therefore it's a loss. But it's not. If they have scanned it and gone, number 3 and 7 is what I want, then you've won. You've provided value. You've got brand awareness. They're thinking about your brand. They've learned something from you. That's a win.
Yeah. So one of the things that I find when running a campaign is that if you're trying something new, then go short with the view to find interest. If you're going to something that you know you've got a point of difference, then you go long with the view that you write a long copy, but then you can highlight those pointers with the view to get the reader sucked in quite early into the middle of the conversation with the view that they get to read everything. I think that's utmost.
And I would say the word there to use is you have to earn their attention. That's where it comes from. It's true because like what you do is you have the short copy that says this is good, like this is something you need, this is something that's relevant to you. I know I keep using the word relevant, but that's really the key to copywriting. And so you want to show them and say, you don't say this is what we do, you say how we help you. Once they earn that attention and they go, hey, I like that's when they'll go, I want to read more, and then you give them the option to read more.
Yeah, 100%. I think that what you've said there is so true in the sense of they've got to earn the right to want to read on and to earn that respect with the view of integration. For me, how do you create memorability? Because you've got to walk away and remember what you've just read.
Yeah. And it comes down to, as I said, if you provide value, that is where people remember you. There's no like silver bullet. It really comes down to, it's not like, and even shock value dissipates, right? It really comes down to that they were looking for something and you provided it, and you knew that they were looking for it because you know your ideal customer, and they come across your content, they read it and they go, wow, this brand really nailed it and it was something I can relate to. That's the best kind of copy.
Now this is where my line comes in. That's edutainment. That's it.
There you go, Bernard.
22 seconds. Come on, bring us home, bud.
Mate, I think that what was really great and what you captured in there is that there is no long copy versus short copy. It's all about the process and the story, for lack of a better term, or the journey that you're taking somebody through. What is the journey you're taking somebody through? And there is no loss in only scanning the content. It's about what content do you highlight that is most effective and going to resonate with your customer. That's the real win.
It's their experience after all that matters. That's what it is.
I think it's all about just bringing something home with the view to add value and make sure that it's an enjoyable experience.
I love this clock, mate. I love it.
Oh my God.
How was that? 7 minutes
of you. You two are like, you're like getting off on the format. Just like, this is amazing.
Hey, we've got to enjoy it. If we're going to be on this show twice a month, man.
I'm vibing off your passion. I love it.
Yeah.
The whole point of bite-sized my bite-sized branding is all about, we can talk for long and we can talk forever and we can waffle. The whole point is we've got to get to the points quickly. We've got to make sure we're making sense, and we got it because we know that the subject's going to come to a close. And that's the format. So we love it. We want other people to love it. So we want people to subscribe. And more than anything else, we want people to send us questions because we want to get challenged. We want to really think about the subject matter, because at the end of the day, those are the kind of things that really count. What I took out of this discussion was that, be it long copy or short copy, I just love the words that is communicated. If you can really have the art of putting good words together and you walk away having full understanding of what you've just read, I think that's the art of a great copywriter.
Yeah, and that's the hardest challenge. Sorry, Bernard. Like that's the challenge that we often have is I get thrown some very technical stuff, and it comes down to like, how do we make this digestible to the right audience that they're going to find relevance in?
Yeah, so, tremendous.
Yeah. I wanted to actually throw in there. Like I'm a big fan of dad jokes. The tackier the better. And I think a lot of brands, they don't play on words enough. There's so much wordplay that you can do, and wordplay is such a great way of grabbing somebody's attention. And actually, like insurance companies seem to be quite good at playing on words. Yeah,
they go to these lovely agencies, and you know where it comes from. Brands typically tend to be conservative. Like they say, we do mortgages, right? Or we supply this, we do that, and then it takes like an agency or a copywriter to say, how about we say it's very uninsurance? Like, have you seen those ads and all that? And people go, then they go, and I guarantee in that meeting, they would have gone, no, absolutely not. And then they've been warmed up to it. And that's it's a courage thing. It really is a courage thing. And while you have to stick to your brand guidelines and your brand messaging, like you said, Bernard, having that ability to have a bit of wordplay in a contextually relevant way is really important.
Well, back in the 50s, copywriters only earned their money by how effective their ad was. So they were not paid anything. They had to wordsmith something, and the ad worked. Well, you're going to get paid accordingly. And that's how it used to work. We won't do that today, but
no, like for ads, I think it's a clever way. Like it's harder for other pieces of copy because, like for example, blogs take a while to kick in and all those kind of things. But it is an interesting concept for sure.
Yeah, but that's how they used to do it in the 50s.
How funny.
It's definitely a different consumption method now. Like when there was only a couple of channels to advertise down, you could say, okay, we're going to put a bit of our skin in the game and we're going to back ourselves in this channel. Now there's so many different ways for people to consume content, and the content is produced so much quicker and for a budget that is way less. Remember back in the days, there would be ad campaigns of hundreds of thousands of dollars, running these campaigns. We definitely don't run many campaigns that are that size. Unless you're a McDonald's or something, or a Commonwealth Bank,
Yeah, exactly.
If you've got a good written copy, you can use it again and again. You can chop it up. As long as you've got a good couple of...
You should, if it's the same theme of your brand,
Very much.
That's a really good point to make as well. Some people only see their copy for the moment the copy was written. I'm having my homepage written. I'm like, okay, but a homepage is just like a flyer. It's just like a brochure. It's just like, how can you repurpose that copy again and again and again? Especially once it's written professionally, it's something you don't have to keep reworking and tweaking all the time. Just start using it. Take advantage of it.
Correct.
And that's where brand guidelines and core messaging document can come into it. Yeah.
And that's a good point as well, because a lot of people don't. I remember I actually sat in a workshop with Chris, and he said, how brave do you want to be on a scale? Like, I have to bring it into the screen. On the scale, if brave is here and really conservative is here, where do you want to sit? And that's such a great way of establishing a tone for the brand. And then people then don't take that and then put it into their brand guidelines. So it's not something they continue to refer and remember and then go, okay, this is our positioning. This is how we're going to write and talk about the business.
And potential out there, Bernard, like saying that, like I've been in meetings with so many clients where I'm like, listen, we could make this really amazing. We could make this really compelling. Like, as in, we could, instead of blabbing on about everything we need to say to them, we could say, like, we could ask questions to a client and say, take insurance again. It would be something like, are you sick of wondering what you don't know, or are you sick of, what you don't know? Like, you could really rephrase insurance completely, or like I was helping a financial planner write their website the other day, and they wanted the same stuff. They kept telling me they didn't, but then they wanted the same stuff. And so it was really saying, like, do you want to be brave? That was the question I asked them. I'm like, can we just go, listen, we'll be right by your side to like, it's all these kind of things. You can push the boundaries, but a lot of brands just can't get there.
Fantastic. All right, so show number 3. Let's get going.
Yep.
So this one we're gonna distill it a little bit more, right? And talk about the power of a headline. So it's short, it's to the point. What is the power of a headline? And in particular, I feel like a lot of people don't take advantage of it in their landing pages and on their website. What is the loss in that little marketing space that they're potentially getting by not taking advantage of that space? I'm going to hit the clock here. Is everyone ready?
We're ready. Let's go.
Let's do it. So I'll preface it again. So what is the power of a headline, and what is the effect of not having a good headline on somebody when they enter, whatever the piece of collateral is, whether it's a promotional piece, your landing page, or your website?
Yeah, look, I could go on this forever. Sorry, Grant. This could be. This is so many thousands of different things. Look,
so just start the clock again.
yeah, right. So look, the reality is, let's go start from the very basics. The headline is the first thing that people see. It sets the tone. It sets the expectations. That's the most important thing. And so it needs to be the flagship of every piece of copy you do, because that's what we're, as Grant said, we're living in a goldfish generation where it's the 5 to 6 second attention span, and so that headline has to set up a promise that the rest of the copy is going to deliver. And that's why I would say never clickbait, because when you set up that expectation and then you don't deliver it, people don't just dislike you, they hate you, right?
Oh my God.
Brands do it all the time and they don't even realize they're doing it. Yeah. Expectation setting with the headline and delivering on the promise in the body. Sorry, I'll stop.
A good headline is when it stands in a very good layout. It's got good space, it's got meaning, it's got power. And like I said previously, I love typography. And when the letters line up just beautifully to a point that your eye just melts, you can see when something is out of space. When someone's turning and lettering has just been a little bit misplaced, your eye instantly it kicks in. But if it's all together and the line has meaning and it's got a good position on a layout with a good graphic or a good photo, then that line is worth more than gold.
Yeah. And you've just got it, like you said, so it's visual, it's meaning, it's triggers, like it's also, it has a lot of implications for SEO, like there's optimization, there's a lot of different things that a headline does. And that's why things like the 5 tips or how to, those kind of, like how to is a trigger word for Google, right? It loves that because it expects that the copy that's going to follow is a guide or an information article. So using how to is a good one. The 5 tips or the 7 triggers, all those kind of things are also compelling because, like we talked about before, people can scan your content to find the relevant things that they want to know. But as I said, it has to set up an expectation that is relevant. So knowing, again, sorry, I keep harping on, but it's about knowing who you're targeting. Because if you're targeting a particular type, say you're targeting a student between 20 and 23, 24, for example, age, that is a different headline to a mature age student that might be in their 50s or 60s. Like it's very important to understand who your customer is and why they're going to click, what they're looking for. That changes the whole scope of your headline.
Man, I like a couple things you said in there. I like that you covered off clickbait because you are 100% right about that. Like the number of times there'll be a great headline and you're like, oh my God, that sounds, I would definitely want to read that. And you click and then it's just completely irrelevant. And the other thing is the experience as well. Like you start going through this page and all of a sudden it's ad or a different story and there's no differentiation between the current story and the story. And I'm like, am I reading the same story or is it a different story?
The customer experience is everything. It's marketing 101. Right? And if you literally say, here's the 5 things on how to reduce your costs, and then you don't deliver that in the copy, then people go, this brand has no clue. They waste my time. It does so much irreparable damage, and it starts off insignificant, but as you start it grows, and people will say, don't trust that brand.
Exactly. It's like when somebody refers to the Daily Mail and they're like, oh, did you see that article on Daily Mail? You're like, mate,
that's totally good. This is them. Yeah, and brands, that won't happen to me, but it does.
Yeah, it does, 100%. I got another question in regards to keywords and creating a headline. How often do you kind of hit a bit of a roadblock where it's like, okay, in order to get the keyword bang for buck, I need to go in this direction, but the great headline is actually that direction?
Yeah. Okay. So I got asked this in one of my classes this week. So it's key, like SEO versus human, right? I always write for the human first. Now I know that people are going, oh, but it really is, because in the end, Google, it's the cart before the horse, right?
Yeah.
Google is there to provide a good human experience, and its algorithm is constantly changing to try and adapt to the human element of who the readers, the writers, that, right? So if you, like everyone says this, like Neil Patel and all these people that are good writers, they all say follow the human experience, and Google catches up. But in saying that, what you can do is write for the human audience, and then what you do is go back and say, is there a natural way to use a keyword in there? But it shouldn't be keyword first, because what you end up doing is it's clunky, it's boring. People know what you're doing, and people just leave, and then you've pleased Google temporarily, but your customer goes, this is garbage.
Because in the end, like if you get a lot of the bounce rate's high, or there's low traffic, Google's not going to rank you anyway. So you might be good for the headline in the beginning, and then it just drops off.
And so you go up rank for about a week, and then as people start to see it, they go, this is rubbish, and they leave. And then dwell time reduces, you get high bounce rate, and then down you go again. And you go, well, that was good for 3 minutes.
But yes, this is where the game has changed, in the sense where it's not about always writing positive. For example, on Google, on the SEO, you have good meta tags and bad meta tags with the view to try and find the right traffic for you. And that is what a lot of people don't understand a good copywriter needs to understand when setting it up from a Google algorithm point of view. I think the point that is important is that a headline is a call to action. A headline is a doing word. A headline is the next step. And if I had to highlight anyone, and I think it's a dying art, because publications and magazines that we used to get at the supermarket when we were in the queue to go pay for our goods, those headlines are the ones that always catch your attention, that with the read the story. I think they've got the art of writing good headlines.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to experiment with them. Like if you're writing blogs, if you're writing your website, make it compelling. But as I said, like make a promise and then deliver on that promise. And don't be afraid to be bold. Ask questions. Sometimes a title can be a question. Do you know? Or how to? 5 things. All these things will trigger people. If it's boring, it just won't get clicks. That's how it goes.
Yes, 100%. So.
I'm good. A couple seconds left in this one. You did say at the beginning you could rattle on about this subject forever. I did have one last question in regards to the whole Google keyword title kind of competition that's going on there. When you produce copy, how much research do you do around the keyword background?
A lot. And so I learned from some of the best SEO people in Australia. Like there's some incredible people out there, and I'm not going to say I'm an expert, because I've learned from a lot of people, and sometimes when a project is so advanced, I get what they call an SEO architect in, and they're the ones who can look at the keywords and provide a cloud, and they go, this is where it needs to be. But in terms of general sense, what I find is, because I do this every day, I have a natural knack for including the keywords that should be there. Like, whether I'm writing for a bank or a service provider or a glass provider or something, whatever it is, you can naturally see the keywords that need to be in there, like a suburb name or services name. You can naturally do that. I take the opinion that you do the research first, you look at all the keywords that are ranking, and you say, okay, here's the good words. And then I write it in a natural way and try and keep them in the top of my mind of where the keywords need to be. Then what I do is I get that keyword research back out, and I go Control F, and I try and find the keywords in my copy. And I go, right, it's only been mentioned once or twice. And usually I aim for 3 times in a piece of copy. So I would say, okay, there's only twice, and that's the highest keyword. So I'll try and read it again and say, where will it naturally fit? And often after that. It's the problem people have is when they write the keywords first, like as in they go, the financial planner must be this, financial planners do this, financial planning, blah, blah, blah. And when it's too much, not only does Google Google's
They don't like
learning.
it. Yeah.
But so people go, this is just so tedious to read. So I find just writing it naturally, letting it permeate through the copy, doing the control F thing is the way to do it. Horse, right? So be careful with that.
So Christopher, let me ask you this question. When you're dealing with a client that's competitive space, okay?
Sorry,
I missed that a little bit.
Yeah. When you're dealing with a client that's in a very competitive space, okay, what do you do then to that of a client that's in a very unique space? How do you change your strategy from smithing an article of relevance?
Okay, so if it depends, are they a prominent brand or a non-known?
In a competitive space, like life insurance is a very competitive space, and everyone's like doing it. To someone that's quite, how do you then change your strategy around that?
Yeah. So what do you mean, like to get them ranking?
Yeah, to get the ranking, to get the to buy in.
Yeah. So what I would do is, it depends. Look, that's a big question because it could be any kind of strategy. Like I'd probably go to Bernard and the usability team and say, this is bigger than just copy, because SEO is a huge beast, right? But if it was down to what kind of copy would improve it, one, I would start with things like refreshing the services page, because Google loves, and search engines love when you refresh the copy and you add new sections and update its relevance. That would be one. I would also look at the keywords, and when the top keywords are really saturated, you can look for the secondary or tertiary keywords and sort of incorporate some of them, because Google looks at it holistically. So it's not just they look at one keyword, they look at, oh, this article or this piece of content or this page has not only mentioned the keywords, but it's also mentioned a few others that people kind of look at. And so it looks at it holistically and says, well, this page kind of ticks a lot of boxes here, and it's quite deep. And so it will tend to start to favor that page. That's one I would do. I would also start creating content clusters. So I would say, okay, the keyword is this. What kind of content can we create around it? So again, I'm bringing financial planning because it's on the top of my mind right now for one of my clients. But financial planning, you might say, okay, let's create a lot of content around financial planning services, if that's the keyword. And it might be, what are financial planning services? What are the types of planning services? What do financial planning services do for you? How do financial services help a 20 to 30-year-old, a 40 to 50-year-old, 60 to 70, all those, see how that's all those topics. If you start putting out lots of content and all those sort of things around that topic cluster, Google just goes, wow, that website is really hitting that button a lot, and it's all quality stuff. It will start to push you up holistically, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, fantastic. Wow. Brilliant stuff.
Well, I think one thing that's come out of this, and obviously, let's if we introduce any more topics about copy, we'll be here all day. I think.
Yeah, I do this.
You're good. We'll cancel our meetings. Let's just stay here. I think. Could you imagine if we ran this for a whole day? I think one really important thing that's come out of this is that copy is so much bigger than just the words on the page. And that
can I reiterate that, because this is why like I position my agency as Melotti Media Message Marketing, because it's much more than copywriting. It's not like, hey, I like to dabble in a bit of writing, I'm going to get you results. It takes a lot of marketing expertise and experience. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like this is where people go, well, hold on, that copywriter is going to charge me a quarter of the price. And you think, well, they're someone that decided, hey, I'm at home, I'll give it a go. Whereas, you know, where other writers excel and they get you results is because they look at it and go, okay, well, who's your customer? What are they? Where are they up to in the content journey? All those kind of things. That's where you're paying for, and that's where the value comes from.
I think more important than anything else is that it's important for a client and a copywriter to have chemistry, because if they don't have chemistry, it doesn't come together. It just doesn't work. And that's where it's quite hard for a copywriter who may not have an interest. But at the end of the day, like you said, you put yourselves in the shoes of your client's customer with the view to make sure that he gets the best selling. But if a client would invest with a good copywriter, the money invested would give returns far greater than a cheap copywriter just by saving a couple of bucks right now would do.
Like I've got clients that have used me for years, and the chemistry is really important. I do turn down clients who I don't feel click, or they're not in the right space, or even I'm one of those people people with a bloody conscience. And I am that person where I go, I can't write copy for you because you're selling something that actually isn't delivering that. And it's not like getting on my high horse. It's not that. It's just that I struggle to write messages for a brand that doesn't actually deliver what they ask me to write. For me, I just can't do it. The reason why is it is an ethics thing, but it's also the fact that it's all lies, and it's not going to get them the results, and then they'll probably blame me because I'll be like, wow, none of this works, and it's really the problem with the construct behind it. So you're right, Grant. It comes down to a lot of chemistry, trust, feeling like they're well supported, feeling like you're not a yes person. That's another thing. Like it's being the ability to say, look, this is not right. Okay, this is, and it happens a lot. I write a lot for a lot of different industries, and sometimes you're like, I get what you're trying to say, but your customer is your customer's not going to like this, or not going to understand it. And you know, it happens in every industry, like legal, right? Education is a big one as well. Medical, a lot of them they like what they want to say, and they forget the customer and all of it, and then they go, why isn't this getting results?
Yeah,
100%. Awesome. So before anyone says anything else, okay, we have to wrap up the show. Okay. It's been an absolute pleasure. What a blowaway show, Chris. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show. I think we'll definitely have you back again because there's so much more we can keep talking about. And
topics, we'll go for it.
Yeah, man, I'll keep sending them through. Let's do it. So obviously this is a live stream, but we will be resharing it across our different channels. For everyone that's following, that's watched, liked, shared these videos, please also share with us some topics. We're looking for some stuff to challenge us. We're looking for some stuff to be a little bit more edgy. So we're always okay with things that are a little bit on the edge, where we want to talk about those things. Yes, sir. What are you thinking, Chris?
There's many points you had that we could discuss.
Mate, send them through. We will discuss them. In saying that as well, thank you, Grant, very much for joining us as always. There was something else I was going to say. What else was I going to say, Grant?
One of the things I think is quite important is that it's important to create engagement. And therefore, we want the participation of people giving us the questions, because one of the things that have come up is that they want it to be more controversial. So therefore, we need challenging topics. So please subscribe, please share, because at the end of the day, we also want to be challenged ourselves with the view to put it together. But Christopher, it's been great interjecting with you. It's been great.
Thank you. Like, I love the energy. This was really good, and I feel like we would have got this. So
awesome.
Thank
so
you.
What we want to share.
I'll also share Chris's details in the comments. So if you do want to reach out to Chris, you have any further questions, or you have any questions of him and how to use copy strategically, then the details will be there, and you're more than welcome to get in touch with Chris. There they are. Awesome, guys. Unless anyone has any other words to wrap this baby up, I think we'll.
Thank you very much. On that,
guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Bye.